Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sports Card Show. Today I wanted to see if I could show you guys what I kind of tried to look at to see what cards are the most active in terms of upward price movements, the sort of hot list, as you would if you remember back in the day, Beckett magazine that we all used to, price our cards back before eBay came along in the late 90s. Beckett was, the hobby Bible, and there was a section in there called the hot list. And basically it showed you like the top, I don't know what it was, like 10 or 15 cards, for the most recent period, and numbered them 1 through 15 or whatever it was. And you had a pretty good sense of what was super hot. Maybe it was Greg Jeffries cards back in 1988 or Ken Griffey Jr. cards back in 1989. That was, I thought, a very helpful way to see kind of what people were buying. You could also, just look through the price guide in Beckett and see what cards had up arrows by the prices to see where things were, which cards were headed up. And that was another very easy way to kind of see what was active. And of course it was, somewhat out of date by the time that Beckett magazine got you. And of course the longer the month went on, the more out of date it was. So it certainly wasn't ideal, but it was something. It was all we had back then, other than, kind of seeing prices of things at the card shows and talking to your friends and stuff like that. These days, we have much, I think, better, more kind of discrete information on prices of cards. And yet I find it's not super intuitive to find an easy way to see, what is hot in the market. You can't just do a search on eBay to see what cards are averaging upward movements over the last 7 days or 14 days or what have you, right? So this is where tools that aggregate pricing, try to kind of create a price guide of sports cards, can be very handy, and they can turn that information into something like a hot list. So I want to show you a couple of ways that I try to, kind of keep my eye on what is moving up and what is not. I mean, a lot of people will, if they're, selling a lot of cards, they will sort of see things get snapped up all of a sudden, all like 3 cards of the same player sold in a day, and those cards have been listed on their eBay store for, months. And then you may know that there's something very hot. This happened to me once when all of a sudden, like this football card product that I had unopened on my online store for many months, all of a sudden sold out of like 5 boxes of it. And I didn't know why, but then I, figured it out very quickly. It was because Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, who was, having some really great success with the Colorado football team he plays on. His only like autograph cards were in that set, which was otherwise kind of a, pretty weak product. So, those kinds of things happen a lot, and or they used to happen a lot actually when the market was a bit more active. But they can happen, and you can find out sort of the hard way or the little too late way that something is blown up that you have. So you like to know in advance if you can, and maybe put cards on eBay after you figure out that their value is going up. So here we have the homepage of Sports Card Investor. If you click on the price guide, now I do not pay for the Sports Card Investor service. I forget, Market Movers they call it. I just use what's, on their freely available website right here. And you can see they have under this price guide section, you can click on, any sports and see a listing of just those cards, of the kind of trending cards. Or you can go here and they mix them all together and show you the top trending cards across baseball, football, basketball, non-sports, Pokemon, etc. And these, let's see, they don't seem to be in actual order, because like this one is up 235% in 30 days, and it's, after this Lamar, which is up 26.4%. So these are not really in order. This is something of I think a manually curated list that they put together at Sports Card Investor. But it is nonetheless, I think helpful to see, some kind of general trends. Lamar Jackson has shown up, 3 times here in the first 4 cards. Makes a lot of sense. The Baltimore Ravens are, having a gangbusters year. He's doing really well. They are kind of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. His cards are showing up because a lot of people are starting to pick them up, in case he does get, deep into the football playoffs and ultimately, may get his first NFL title. Makes perfect sense that he's there. Pokemon, I have no friggin' idea. Brock Purdy, another guy having a really good year. It's football season, so you can see a lot of football players, guys like Ohtani, of course, his stuff makes sense to be going up. So I do think that this list is, fairly accurate in terms of telling you that the cards of the players that appear here are, in fact, going up. And, if you click one, like this Shohei Ohtani will click, you can see the trends. And this is kind of nice. And it's only going to show you back basically a month, which, again, this is all free. This is just on their public website, so you don't have to pay for any of this. And you can see the sales that have occurred over that month and see, in fact, things are trending up. And then you could go to eBay and see, actual sales for this. But if you had one of these cards and you see it on this list, you might say, oh, well, I should consider selling that because it's, it's clearly got a lot of interest right now. If you want to sell cards, that are kind of going to give you most likely a profit and that are, hot, if you like to sell when things are up and not when they're down, looking at something like this and deciding one in your collection you want to try to let go of is, I think, a pretty good move. Now, you might say, look, I'm not going to sell Shohei now because when spring training starts and everybody gets rabid about how fun it's going to be to see Ohtani on a contending team because he got signed by the Dodgers, so I'm going to hang on and not sell his cards. That certainly is quite logical, and I think is probably actually the right call. But in general, I like to sell cards, when their hype is maximal. Sometimes the hype will go even more, and you may, lose some of the money profit you had on the table. But oftentimes, like with Shohei Ohtani cards, all the Shohei Ohtani cards I've got are from I bought them in 2018, all the rookies, and I have profit in them regardless of when I sell them. So, if he tears his ACL, 2 days into spring training, those cards are going to suffer and they'll go down, and that probably won't happen, but it might happen. So why not take a little profit? Right? Is the thinking, I think, in selling at least some cards that you do have a profit on, even though you may think some of them, or they may generally have some room to run. So there's obviously different philosophies, schools of thoughts on when to sell things, but I think when things are hot is always a good time to consider selling, at least. Other names I see in here are Ja Morant. This one, strangely, is down actually 7.5% in the last 7 days, but it's up 41.3% in 30 days. Ja Morant recently came back from a relatively long-term suspension from his second time getting caught on social media with a gun, being depicted holding a gun, which is against the rules for NBA players. And so he's actually, gotten off to quite a hot start upon his return. And so, that's why his stuff is showing up here. And generally, I think now is probably the best time, and since he's been suspended, to sell some of his cards if you have an interest. And I do have actually quite a few high end Ja Morant rookie cards, so he's somebody I may look at, kind of putting one or two of those cards up for sale to kind of get rid of now, as a way to hedge the possibility that he may show up with a gun again on social media and drop his prices significantly further. Another guy that's shown up here, actually Joe Burrow is a bit of a mystery because he's been injured the whole year almost. But Luka Doncic is another guy that makes a lot of sense, that he's here because he is having an incredible year. His kind of career year so far, just throwing up triple doubles every other game, and having huge 40, 50-point games, and most importantly, I think he's I'm a big Luka fan, by the way, so this is very biased, but I think he is the key to a lot of victories that the Mavericks have gotten this year, and they're doing very well. They've marched quite close to the top of the pack there in the NBA, and seem to have a decent shot. Although I have to say I get depressed every time they play a really good team. Although they beat the Warriors the other night, which was huge, because they keep every time they play one of the top 5 teams, they just can't pull it off, even though they have leads. But anyways, Luka Doncic, career year, probably headed to the playoffs. Almost certainly headed to the playoffs, and perhaps deeper than ever before. Slim chance of a title this year, but it's something. So this all makes sense to me. I think again, there's some manual curation of this list, and so to take it somewhat with a grain of salt, but it will tell you who is performing well, and if you have these guys in your collection and you're looking for a time to sell, when they're hot, then this will be helpful. So again, you can go look just at the basketball cards that are
trending, and it'll show you those. Again, we're going to see more Lukas. Wembanyama's cooling off right now, but Cade Cunningham, surprised to see him here because he's on that Pistons team that has not won a game in 29 tries, last 29 tries. So there's some wackiness here. I have to say, I think if you bought the the paid market movers, you would probably have more accurate and more up to date tools to show trends. I have to say though, when I did subscribe to this when it first came out, and for a few years after that, didn't really use it that much, and ultimately decided it's not really worth it. And I didn't really see anything that was a great hot list sort of feature that felt like it was super useful to me. So maybe they have that now, but didn't see it when I was a subscriber. So what I do subscribe to, because it's a lot cheaper, I think it's $10 a month or something, is Card Ladder Pro. And Card Ladder was purchased by PSA some time ago, but doesn't really change anything about how it operates. I decided to try Card Ladder just because I'd been subscribing to market movers, and I felt like it was overpriced. This Card Ladder was way cheaper, so I thought, let's give it a try. And I have kept my subscription ever since then. It's very similar to market movers in a broad sense. It basically attempts to create a price index for thousands of different cards that they try to track prices on. You have to understand the inherent limitations with something like this, though. It cannot very easily produce perfect data that always pulls in the right cards. If it wants to track the prices of a PSA 6 Reggie Jackson, but somebody accidentally puts SGC instead of PSA, or they say PSA 6 but it's actually a 6.5, and people who are bidding on it can see that, so they're going to bid it, higher than the prices of a 6, but they put the wrong title in, so it's going to show up in the data as a 6, and Card Ladder is going to read it as a 6 in the data. So you see there are limitations, right? But with cards that sell, quite frequently, that data is going to be sort of drowned out by just the volume of data points that get sucked in. So the Card Ladder here is, basically their like index. Things are organized by score in descending order. Now the score is a bit of a, it's a bit of a black box what this score means in terms of how it's computed. It's some combination of like how many are sold, the increase in price over time, and like a few other factors that you can read about if you look at their documentation. But you can also sort this list by, just percentage increase, which is, very clear what that is, over 3 months, 1 month, 1 week, whatever you want. And this shows the highest performing cards across, every sport, including, non-sports. It, is a bit wonky because, 1984 star Michael Jordan PSA, like there are not that many of these cards sold in any given month. So they might, have data points for some of these rare, in like, there's like numbered cards in here. There's just, very rare cards like Jackie Robinson 48 leaf PSA 1 that just don't show up. So, the last sale may have been like a year and a half ago. And so it may show a giant increase in price, and that's what gets it in this list. So this Card Ladder list is sort of less than useful to me. Also, like of these, top cards, the only one I have even close, I guess I may have a Bo Bichette 20 Topps Chrome somewhere, but, is this the only one I have for sure is this Topps Update Ronald Acuna. I actually don't have it in BGS5. I have it in the PSA. I have several of them, but my point is, like, I don't have any Michael Jordan one, and I don't have any 84 star Michael Jordans that sell for $20,000. So like this list, this just Card Ladder, without any data sorting is sort of useless to me. There's also weird stuff like what did I just see? Yes, like 86 Fleer Rodney McRae PSA 9. Okay, so, some set collector who wants to have a PSA 9 86 Fleer basketball set bought this thing and overpaid for it or something, and then it's reflected in a high price point compared to what it last sold for. Maybe it sold for $10 before, now it's 75. So Card Ladder algorithm thinks it's worth, or that it's going up a ton. So this is not very useful. What I did is I created a hot list search, and basically this is just a filter of the cards that are in that set, and you can see here. So it's got all the 5 major sports, cards only between $10 and $1,000. So it's going to be a lot of like, graded base rookies. Maybe some, refractors are very sort of high numbered, or, more common parallels. Only cards after 2000, because I didn't want to, have a bunch of stuff that was from the 80s or whatever that was just weird cases like what I mentioned. And the population of the card is greater than 1,000. So for graded cards, that's going to be, generally like base cards or, pretty popular cards. So this search is going to give me a pretty good indicator of, whose cards are most active by just looking at who shows up in these things. I am liable to have a fair number of the cards that are in like the top 20 here, right? Like, I have that Acuna, I have this Judge, I think I have a Dak that's ungraded, I have this Acuna, used to have this cryptocurrency card but sold it. I don't think I have this, but I do have unopened 2008 Topps Update stuff that has him as a possibility of one of the cards you can get. Luka Base Chronicles, like I have a ton of Luka stuff, including this card. don't happen to have a Lamar Prism rookie at the moment, but I've had one. So, these are all going to be cards that are in a lot of our collections, not like 84-star Jordan cards. So, looking at this list, it's a little bit more like a proper kind of hot list for the average collector. So you see LeBron's base 2004 tops is at the top of the list. I don't quite understand that. I mean, he's doing all right this year, but I don't think like any of his. Oh, okay, there is other LeBron in here, so maybe his collector base is growing this year, and people are getting excited about him again. I mean, people were pretty excited about him back in like 2020, and then he didn't really get close to the playoffs, or at least close to getting very deep in them for a long time, and I think maybe people lost some interest. So it's now starting to come back. The Lakers won that mid-season in-season tournament that the NBA did for the first time this year, so that's probably driving some of the interest. Aaron Judge stuff I think is going to be hot from now until the beginning of the season, just like Acuna stuff, just like Soto stuff. So no surprise to see there. Let's see what else is here. Like Luka again, no surprise to see his stuff. I'm pretty positive I have at least like one of these PSA 10s, and to sell a paper card from a relatively low end set like Chronicles for $75 in PSA 10 is pretty dang good, considering the state of the hobby right now, which is everything is down about 70% from highs of 2020 and 2021. So if you click on one of these, you can see the the sales going back. It looks like a couple of months. This would be the beginning, or this would be October. And this card's kind of up and down, but definitely an upward trajectory here towards the end, with this kind of sale in between of only $60 instead of $75. So a lot of times the data is kind of wonky. Like even over here, there'll be like one sale in the last 2 weeks, and it happens to be whatever $10 higher than the prior sale, but it's like 100% more than the prior sale value. So it gets skewed, and what you're looking for is cards that have a number of sales each month at least, and ideally each week, I think. So let's see if Lamar has more sales. Yeah, a few more data points, I think, in Lamar's Prism rookie here, but then the last one just kind of shoots up. This is PSA 9 rookie. So again, this would require a subscription to get this, but I think this is a good indicator of kind of what is rising, at least of the cards that are a bit more common and more likely to be in our collections than some of the things that just have the highest percent increase that we saw in that just base card ladder list. So there you go. There's a little bit about how I kind of create my own sort of hot lists, how I try to understand what's hot. And at this point, if I'm looking to sell some cards, I'm going to probably go look at my Lukas, see what maybe kind of, low end PSA 10 rookie cards I could put on the market, keeping, of course, my higher end cards of him, since he's sort of my PC. I would go look at like maybe some of my Ohtani cards and my Acuna cards, look at values of individual cards that I have, and see what they seem to be going for. I would probably, maybe if I have any 2018 like football rookies like Lamar, or some of these other guys that are doing well this year, Josh Allen, and Shohei, of course, always hot. So I might see what I have of him that I could to get rid of. Kind of surprised to see Lafreniere here. I don't know what he's doing this year. Maybe he's off to a fast start here with the NHL season. But that's how I, sort of interpret this data, use it to, help me decide what to do with my selling of cards online. And hopefully that's useful for you too. In the future, I think what I'll do is maybe, like periodic videos where I kind of look at this ladder, see what's in here, look at some of the charts and see, what data might be. Like here's an example of a card that just doesn't have that many data points compared to some of these other cards we looked at. Like, let's see, this one, ton more data points, over the last 3 months. So the data may be much more reliable, or the trends may be much more reliable looking at this card as opposed to this LeBron, which has way fewer sales. And, just like at the end of the December was down, selling for $27, and now it's up, there's this outlier here of $90, prior sale being $54. So again, you have to sort of weed through this stuff to see what's maybe a little bit fluky, and, make sure you're not making decisions based on trends that aren't really there, other than, rare outliers. But I find this pretty useful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and please give a subscribe if you're interested in more content about all things sports cards. We will catch you next time at the Sports Card Show. Have a great one, and Happy New Year, everybody.